Have you ever felt that no matter how much effort you put into growing in your faith, something still seems to be missing? In the busyness of daily life, it's easy to feel disconnected from the deep relationship with God that we long for. But what if a few reflections could change everything? Imagine finding clarity, peace, and a renewed purpose in your spiritual journey. Today we'll delve into 7 transformative teachings inspired by the profound writings of C.S. Lewis. These reflections are more than just ideas. They are tools that can strengthen your faith, guide you through challenges, and provide a resilience rooted in God's truth. Whether you are seeking answers or simply longing to grow closer to Him, this message is for you. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery that could reshape the way you live your faith each day. If you're looking to deepen your faith and find inspiration for your spiritual journey, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. By activating notifications, you'll be the first to receive reflections that can transform your perspective and bring you closer to God. Join us on this journey of growth and faith as we continue to explore timeless teachings that will guide and strengthen your spiritual walk. Click subscribe now and be part of this inspiring community. In a world filled with distractions and constant challenges, maintaining a strong relationship with God can feel overwhelming. Many of us find ourselves stuck, wondering why our efforts to grow in faith don't seem to bear the fruit we desire. It's a struggle that often leaves us feeling disconnected and uncertain. C.S. Lewis, who faced his own moments of doubt and deep loss, understood these struggles. His writings remind us that even the hardest questions and darkest times can become pathways to a deeper and more authentic faith. Today, we'll explore these timeless teachings as a guide to navigate our own spiritual challenges and find hope, purpose, and strength in God. Today we will dive into 7 essential reflections drawn from the writings of C.S. Lewis. These teachings address key aspects of our spiritual lives: the transformative power of love, the value of embracing doubt, finding strength in pain, the gift of forgiveness, the importance of family, the essence of true humility, and the courage to live by faith. As we explore these principles, you will discover how to apply them to your daily life, helping you overcome obstacles, strengthen your relationship with God, and find spiritual resilience that will carry you through any challenge. Love, as C.S. Lewis understood it, is much more than a fleeting feeling. It is a transformative force that can change the world around us. Love is the very essence of life, an expression of the divine that shapes our actions, our relationships, and our connection to God. It is through love that we are called to reflect the nature of Christ in our lives, and it is through love that we experience the most profound connection to the divine. In 1 Corinthians 13, Paul writes that, "Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud." These timeless words are a perfect representation of Lewis's belief that love is more than just an emotion. It is an active force that requires effort and intention. Love, as Lewis saw it, was about more than just feeling affection. It was about demonstrating that affection in tangible, everyday ways. It is in the acts of patience, kindness, and humility that we embody the love of Christ. For Lewis, love isn't just a lofty ideal, it is the foundation of our lives. Without it, our actions and our successes are hollow, lacking the depth and meaning that love brings. This kind of love does not wait for the other person to change or prove themselves worthy. It is unconditional and sacrificial, just as Christ's love for us is. When we love, we open our hearts to both joy and pain, and we are called to love. Not just those who love us, but also those who may never return that love. Living this love requires intentionality and courage. It is a love that calls us to reach out to those in need, to forgive those who have hurt us, and to be vulnerable in our relationships. Love requires action. It is not merely a sentiment, but a choice to act in the best interest of others, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. As Lewis put it, love is an active, assertive force, one that transcends our personal comfort and leads us to a deeper understanding of God's purpose in our lives. Today, reflect on how you can embody this kind of love. Consider how you can show patience and kindness to someone in your life. Think about an area where you need to forgive, or a person you can reach out to with compassion. By living out the love that C.S. Lewis spoke of, we draw closer to God and experience a deeper, more meaningful connection with others. Doubt, while often uncomfortable, is an essential part of the spiritual journey. For C.S. Lewis, doubt wasn't something to fear or avoid. It was something to embrace as an opportunity for growth. His own journey from atheism to faith is a testament to the power of doubt when approached with honesty and a desire for truth. Rather than distancing him from God, his doubts led him to a deeper understanding and a more profound faith. In Proverbs 2:3-5, we are encouraged. If you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, if you seek it as silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Lewis lived this quest for knowledge and understanding. His doubts were not a sign of weakness, but a pathway that led him to deeper truths about God, the world, and himself. As he explored the works of both Christian and non-Christian thinkers, he found that the questions he had were not only permissible, but often necessary in the search for truth. Doubts can be unsettling, but they are not barriers to faith. They are invitations to seek deeper wisdom and understanding. Lewis teaches us that questioning is not a sign of a lack of faith, but an important part of the process of faith itself. When we ask questions, we allow ourselves to explore our beliefs, challenge assumptions, and come closer to the truth that will strengthen our spiritual foundation. Today, take a moment to reflect on any doubts or questions you might have about your faith. Instead of shying away from them, bring them to God in prayer. Seek understanding through Scripture, and open yourself to the possibility that your doubts may be a gateway to a stronger, more authentic relationship with Him. Just as Lewis's doubts led him to find the truth, your questions can lead you to a deeper, more confident faith. Remember, faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to trust, even in the midst of uncertainty. As you embrace your doubts, allow them to drive you toward a greater understanding of God's purpose and truth. Pain is a universal experience, but it also has the power to be a transformative tool in our spiritual growth. C.S. Lewis, who experienced deep personal losses, such as the death of his mother and his beloved wife Joy, found that pain, when offered to God, could lead to a deeper understanding of God's presence and purpose in his life. Rather than letting pain drive him away from faith, Lewis allowed it to draw him closer to God, finding that even in the darkest moments, God was still present and working in his life. In Romans 5:3-5, we are reminded, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." This passage reflects the journey of C.S. Lewis, who discovered that suffering, though incredibly difficult, could lead to greater spiritual maturity. Through his own experiences of grief and pain, he found that God uses these moments to refine us, to build strength in our faith, and to shape our character in ways we may not fully understand at the time. Lewis's perspective on pain was that it is not something God brings upon us to punish us, but something that can be redeemed and used for our spiritual growth. In his book, The Problem of Pain, he writes that suffering is the megaphone of God that calls us to pay attention to the deeper issues of life and faith. While pain can be overwhelming, it also forces us to ask hard questions, confront our weaknesses, and seek God in ways we might not otherwise. Today, reflect on a time of pain or struggle in your life. Instead of viewing it as something to endure in silence, consider how it might be an opportunity for growth. Invite God into your pain and ask Him to use this moment to strengthen your faith and renew your hope. Just as Lewis found meaning in his suffering, you too can find God's presence in your pain, leading to greater resilience and trust in His plan. Forgiveness is one of the most challenging yet liberating acts of the Christian faith. C.S. Lewis, through his writings, emphasizes that forgiveness is not an optional practice for believers, but a divine mandate. He acknowledges the complexity of forgiveness, famously stating, "Everyone says forgiveness is a lovely idea until they have something to forgive." In Romans 12:18, we are urged, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." Forgiveness is not merely forgetting or excusing an offense, but a conscious choice to release our hearts from the burden of bitterness and resentment. Lewis teaches that forgiveness begins with recognizing our own need for God's grace, who forgives us first. Forgiving does not always mean immediate reconciliation, but it does involve opening the door to peace and healing in our lives. Lewis highlights that when we experience God's forgiveness for our own sins, we are better able to forgive others. The more we recognize how much we've been forgiven, the more willing we are to extend that same grace to others. Today, reflect on a situation where forgiveness is needed in your life. Perhaps it's towards someone who has hurt you, or even towards yourself. Take a moment to pray and ask God to give you the strength and willingness to forgive. By forgiving, we not only release others, but also free ourselves from the chains of anger and hurt, allowing us to live with peace and joy that only God can provide. Forgiveness is a gift that brings spiritual healing, allowing us to grow in our relationship with God and others. When we forgive, we reflect God's love and grace, showing the world a glimpse of His mercy and compassion. If this message has inspired you, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps spread these valuable reflections to others who may need them. Also, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which reflection from C.S. Lewis touched your heart the most today? Your thoughts could encourage others on their spiritual journey. Sharing your experience helps build a stronger community of faith. Family is one of the greatest gifts God gives us, a sacred space where love, faith, and service find their truest expression. For C.S. Lewis, family is not just a social institution, it is a reflection of the divine nature, a small community where we learn the foundational principles of love, forgiveness, and mutual sacrifice. The family is the place where our character is shaped, where we learn to serve and to honor others, and ultimately where we are taught how to love as God loves us. In Exodus 20:12, God commands, "Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." This command highlights the centrality of family in God's plan. Lewis reminds us that love within the family doesn't happen automatically. It takes effort, intentionality, and commitment. It's in the small, everyday gestures of kindness, respect, and care where the family becomes a reflection of God's love. However, Lewis also points out that family is a place of growth. It's where we face our imperfections and those of others, but in doing so, we practice humility, patience, and grace. In a family, we learn how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to serve each other selflessly. Family is the first place where we experience the love of God in action, and it is also the first place where we are called to reflect that love outwardly to others. Today, reflect on how you can strengthen your family relationships. Maybe it's by expressing gratitude to a parent, asking for forgiveness from a sibling, or simply spending more intentional time together. When we honor and cherish our families, we are honoring God, who has entrusted us with this precious gift. A family that lives in love and unity is not only a place of refuge, but also a living testimony of the power of God's love and grace in our lives. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. For C.S. Lewis, true humility is not about denying your worth or achievements, but redirecting your focus from self to others and to God. It is an essential virtue that allows us to recognize our dependence on God and to live in a way that honors Him and serves others. Lewis describes pride as one of the most subtle and dangerous spiritual obstacles. Pride isolates us not only from others, but also from God. Humility, on the other hand, brings us closer to God's grace and enables us to see ourselves and others through the lens of love. In Philippians 2:3, we are instructed, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves." This call to humility challenges us to live not for personal gain, but for the benefit of others, recognizing their worth and serving them selflessly. Humility allows us to listen more attentively, to acknowledge our limitations without devaluing ourselves, and to appreciate the contributions of others. It is a virtue that not only draws us closer to God, but also transforms our relationships, making them more authentic and meaningful. By living humbly, we reflect God's love and mercy in the world. Today, identify an area in your life where you could practice more humility. Perhaps it's through actively listening to someone without interrupting, admitting when you're wrong, or serving others without expecting recognition. Lewis reminds us that humility doesn't weaken us, but strengthens us by freeing us from the burden of self-centeredness. By choosing humility, we align ourselves more closely with the character of Christ, who modeled perfect humility in His life and sacrifice. As you walk in humility, allow it to deepen your relationship with God and those around you. Humility is the key to living a life full of grace, peace, and purpose. Faith is not just a belief. It is a deep conviction that lights our path even in the darkest of times. For C.S. Lewis, living by faith is an act of courage, choosing to trust in God's promises, even when circumstances seem to suggest otherwise. It's walking forward with the confidence that God is guiding us, even when the way isn't clear. In Hebrews 11:1 it says, "Now faith is the confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." This passage encapsulates the call to active faith, not a passive belief that simply waits, but one that manifests itself in our actions, in the love we give, in the service we offer, and in our obedience to God's will. Living by faith requires courage because it means moving forward without all the answers. It means trusting in God's plan even when we cannot see the road ahead. Lewis reminds us that faith is not a guarantee of comfort, but a promise of purpose and transformation. It is the strength that allows us to face uncertainty with trust, to endure challenges with perseverance, and to move forward with hope, even when the future seems unclear. Today, reflect on a situation in your life that requires more faith. Perhaps it's a dream that feels out of reach, a difficult decision, or a challenge that fills you with doubt. Trust God and take a step forward, even if you don't see the whole path. Lewis teaches us that faith isn't just about believing, it's about living each day with the conviction that God is with us, leading us into a future full of hope and purpose. Remember, faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to trust in God even in the midst of uncertainty. As you embrace your faith, let it guide you to a deeper, more confident relationship with God and a life filled with purpose. Each day offers a new opportunity to deepen our faith and live according to God's principles. However, how many times do we delay those small steps necessary for growth, thinking there will always be a tomorrow? C.S. Lewis reminds us that spiritual transformation does not come from grand gestures, but from a collection of small daily decisions made with courage and consistency. Reflect on the principles we've explored today: love, forgiveness, resilience, humility, and active faith. These are not abstract concepts, but invitations to act now. Every time you choose to respond with love instead of anger, forgive instead of holding on to grudges, or trust instead of doubting, you are strengthening your connection with God. Take a moment to identify one reflection that has impacted you today. How can you integrate it into your life right now? True transformation begins when we turn our beliefs into concrete actions, not only in extraordinary moments, but in our everyday lives. Remember, this spiritual journey is not a destination, but a continuous path. Every small step counts, and with each one, you get closer to the purpose God has for you. Continue moving forward with faith and determination, knowing that you are not walking alone. If this message has touched your heart and inspired you, don't keep these reflections to yourself. Share this video with someone who might need it, because sometimes a simple idea or word can transform lives. Your small action can be the beginning of someone else's deep change. I also invite you to subscribe to this channel, to continue exploring teachings that strengthen your faith and guide you on your spiritual journey. Click like if this content has added value to your life, and leave a comment about the reflection that resonated most with you today. Your participation not only supports this mission, but helps bring this message to more people. Together, we can build a stronger, more unified faith community. Spiritual life is a journey, a path filled with challenges, but also with endless opportunities to grow closer to God. Today, by reflecting on the principles inspired by C.S. Lewis's writings, you've taken an important step toward a more resilient faith and a purposeful life. Remember that every choice you make to love, forgive, trust, or live with humility has an eternal impact. Spiritual transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. As Lewis reminds us, we are never alone in this journey. God walks alongside us, guiding our steps and renewing our hearts. Move forward with courage and hope. Let these reflections inspire you to live your faith fully, not just for yourself, but for those around you. And never forget, even in the darkest storms, God's light always shines. May God bless you abundantly and continue to guide every aspect of your life. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again as we continue this beautiful spiritual journey together.